Okay, welcome to 2015. It's our first video notes session of 2015. This is start of Chapter 6 and rates and ratios. The overview of Chapter 6 is that it is dealing with, Chapter 6 is dealing with rates, ratios, and proportions. So we want to talk about just this first section, what those things are. We have a pretty good understanding, but when we talk about, remember from last chapter, rational numbers, right? Rational, right, is an adjective describing, right, if I take ratio, that word, and I put it in adjective form, that's rational. So ratio is a noun, but as a adjective rational, right? So we're dealing with fractions. And a ratio is a comparison of two like items or measures, right? If I say the ratio of boys to girls is 5 to 4 in the classroom, it's a ratio of 5 to 4. And this is a ratio because although I'm sure most of us would tell me that boys and girls are different, it can both be grouped together as saying boy people or girl people. So we can label them with the same unit as people, and so that's a ratio. Whereas a rate is a little different. It's a comparison of unlike items or unlike measures. So when I talk about on the bike and I rode 14 miles, 14 miles on the bike, right? And it took me 1.5 hours to do so. Well, that's a rate because we're comparing miles, which is a distance, to hours, which is a time. So a rate again, and we talked a lot of rates before. We talked about Paul and his dad cutting cords of wood, and the rate was cords of wood per hour. Right, one measurement of number of cords, and the other measurement time, hours. And a lot of times we will see rates expressed as a unit rate, and that is a rate comparing a quantity to one item of another measure or quantity. So again, going back, if I'm 14 miles in 1.5 hours, if I divide that out, 14 divided by 1.5, I think we would know that that would be 9.3. So that would give me 9.3 repeating miles in 1 hour. And we understand I can kind of write mph, or miles per hour. And this word per, right, is when I'm talking about a unit rate, the word per means for every one. So there's 9.3 miles for every 1 hour. And that tells me again that if I see that word per, that tells me that it is a unit rate. And a lot of times a unit rate, it's a little bit like percent, and that, like, if we take a percent, we're doing everything out of hundredths, so we're kind of forcing it into that. A unit rate, you're forcing it to be for one, and then whatever the second unit is. If I ran 20 meters and moved 20 meters in 3 seconds, I could have this rate 20 meters over 3 seconds, and then this would be a unit rate of 6.6 repeating, or 6 2/3 meters per second. And a unit rate I can write in one line, 6.6 sorry everybody, 6.6 repeating meters per second. Okay, so I could write it kind of all in one line without the fraction if I kind of phrase it in that way and use that meters per second. All right, so I want you to take a couple minutes and I want you to change all of these rates, right? 140 words in 4 minutes, $161 for 7 shares, that's of stock maybe, 80 ounces for 2.5 servings, and 70 milliliters to 5 hours. I want to change all of those rates to unit rates. Okay, so copy those down, give the unit rates, and on the next page we will have those listed. So pause it, finish those 4, and then unpause it. Okay, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to switch it to the next screen. And so we see the 35 words per minute, you know, and you could abbreviate it, WPM. As long as we understand what the labels are, because we would IFSMU a lot of these, you know, if there's a word problem, so we would have that rate, we could leave it like that. 23 is $23 a share, 32 ounces for 1 serving or per serving, and then 70 miles in 5 hours is 14 mph or miles per hour. Okay, now this is a topic, converting units, that a lot of people, when they are converting some things, you know, we know that there are 60 seconds to a minute, so sometimes I multiply and sometimes I divide when I'm changing. And so which way is it? And I can guess, and a lot of times I'd be right, but I don't want to ever be wrong. And so what I want to do is kind of come up with, again, we're going to have a theory or an idea to how to always make sure that we do it correctly. And that is, it has to do with the fact that these are rates. So if I can do 5 questions in 40 seconds, all right, how many questions is that in 1 minute? All right, so do I multiply by 60, divide by 60? I know it's probably one of those things, right? So do I use this or this? Well, the key here is I'm going to multiply to convert units. I'm going to multiply by some version of a masked 1. And I'm going to call this a conversion unit. So the conversion unit between minutes and seconds is that 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. So this fraction right here is really equal to 1. This fraction over here, 60 seconds over 1 minute, that's really the same value in the top and bottom of the fraction. That's also equal to 1. But, so both of these are equal to 1, so which one do I multiply by? And the answer is that I'm going to multiply by this one here for the simple reason that when I multiply by 60 seconds over 1 minute, right, the seconds in the denominator here, since I'm multiplying, can cancel out with the seconds, that label in the numerator there. And so the top of the fraction in the numerator is 5 questions times 60, which would be 300 questions, right? The bottom is 40, and this is crossed out, times 1 minute, which would be 40 minutes. And the top is 300 questions. And then I would take this rate here, 300 questions in 40 minutes, and divide the top and bottom by 40 to find the unit rate. Let's see here. So 300 divided by 40, 7.5. And so that gives me a 7.5 questions in 1 minute. Alright, so 7.5 questions per minute. That would be my rate of questions per minute. And all I did is I multiplied by 1. All right, 60 seconds over 1 minute is it's a masked 1. It's what I call the conversion unit. All right, and that canceled out seconds and left me with minutes where I wanted minutes, and that was in the denominator. All right, let's see if we can try another one. So I have 15 miles in 1 hour, so 15 miles per hour, and I want to know how many feet that makes in 1 hour. So if you think about the conversion unit that I want, all right, the conversion unit that I want is I want to multiply by, because I know that there are 5280 feet in 1 mile. So I'm going to multiply by a masked 1. But the masked 1 that I need to use, the fraction, has to have miles where? In the numerator or denominator? Very nice. Has to be in the denominator. So 1 mile and 5280 feet, that's going to be the masked 1 that I multiply by. Because now miles will cancel, and the denominator label left is hours, which is what I want. And the numerator label that's left is feet, which is what I want. So now this is denominator is 1 times 1. I can do that. That's 1. And 15 times 1580. Now again, I'm going to call on my friendly calculator. 5280 times 15 is whatever it happens to be. I think I did 75, didn't I? Let's try that again. 15 times 5280. Right, and that's so 79,200. That would be the numerator, 79200 feet over 1 hour. So 79,200 feet in 1 hour. All right, so what I want you to try to do is I want you to put a conversion unit that deals with seconds and hours and miles and feet, all right, in these two places, so that the 20 feet per in 1.5 seconds turns into how many miles per hour. So if I run or I walk 20 feet in 1.5 seconds, how many miles per hour is that? All right, I'm going to give you a second. Or pause it, please, and then you work it out. See if you can come up with a conversion unit for blue, conversion unit for green, and then get out an answer for X here. Okay, so these are the conversion units I've chosen. All right, 3,600 seconds. So that's 60 times 60 is 3,600. That's the same as 1 hour. So, you know, this is it's the same as 1. When I multiply by 1, it doesn't change. But what it is going to do is going to cancel out the label of seconds that I don't want and give me the label of hours, which I do want. My next fraction is dealing with distance. All right, so this was a time conversion unit. This is a distance conversion unit. 1 mile and 5280 feet are the same. But again, since I'm multiplying, any numerator with any denominator, that's the same factor. All right, so this is a unit factor. So feet here and feet here are going to cancel. So now the feet label is gone, and the numerator, the label that's left in the numerator is miles. So all that's required of me now is 20 times 3,600. All right, 20 times 3,600. Okay, so my calculator says that 20 times 3,600 is 72,000. And the numerator label was miles. And the denominator is 1.5 times 1 times 5280. So on my calculator, I'm going to do 1.5 times 5280. That gives me 79 table was hours. Now to find a unit rate here, I'm going to do 72,000 divided by 7920. And this is going to give me 9.09. And that's repeating miles per hour. And if I was super SMRT, can I determine what that is? That's 9 and, what is this, 9/99? So that's 9 and 1/11th, I think. So 9 and 1/11th mph. A little over 9. All right. So here's a problem. We've got 525 feet in 1 minute. I want to know how many meters per second is that? 525 feet in 1 minute. How many meters per second is that? Now I'm converting between systems, so I've got to get some information. And a foot is equal to 0.3046 meters. In case you didn't know, a minute is equal to 60 seconds. So start with this fraction, multiply it by one conversion unit that will change feet into meters, and one conversion unit that will change minutes into seconds. All right, you do that and come right back. So pause it, please.